Good morning, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Hope you having a great weekend and God bless you. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the news this Sunday morning. And I know Tucker is probably saying the quiet part out loud, what many of us probably have talked about already. You guys know the races that are happening here in November. The midterms are right around the corner. We're like 20 days out. We're so close to the midterms happening. Democrats are really panicking over what is potentially going to be a red tsunami at this point. They are so unpopular right now with the American people. They will try anything to stay in power. And started in places like Arizona where they are witnessing meals show up at drop-off boxes, delivering lots of ballots, of course, and then recently, the Arizona State Secretary Katie Hobbs, who was having to run against Kari Lake, who's in charge of the elections. Somehow 6,000 ballots were sent out with only the federal level on the ballot, nothing state level. Yeah, nothing suspicious there, right? This is what Democrats have to do in order to win elections. They can't win them, honestly, they can't win them on messaging, and showing that how radical their ideas are. People don't respond to mutilating kids, they don't respond to this trans ideology that they're pushing. Of course, this energy crisis they have put us in, and this inflation that they've also put us in, people were not responding very well to any of that stuff. And they know they can't win off that. So they're going to do other things to try to do it. If this is a fair election, that happens in Arizona and across the country, you are going to see a massive red tidal wave that the likes of this nation hasn't seen in a very long time. And this is what Tucker brings up on his show. So let's go and dive into it real quick. Coming to us from Red Voice Media over here Tucker says if the election is fair, Kari Lake is going to win. Let's go and take a listen to what he says here. Imagine what she would be like on a debate stage to face off against trouble. Katie Hobbs doesn't want to. She's running against Ken EOB's Kitty Hobbs was the Secretary of State of Arizona, and she's refused to debate Kari Lake. Oh, she's an election desire. Right, okay. So how does Katie Hobbs plan to win? Well, this week, Hobbs, who is again the Secretary of State of Arizona, in charge of elections, announced that thousands of voters mistakenly received a ballot that had only federal races on it. Now, there's no proof this was deliberate, but it kind of undercuts the whole election denier attack when you send out thousands of faulty ballots a few weeks before the election. So as we said, assuming that all votes are counted, and we should never take that on faith, If this is a democracy, we have an absolute right to have it proven to us that the election was fair. If it is fair, Caroline's gonna win. She's leading in pretty much every poll. So you kind of have to wonder if there's a person running for governor Arizona with every person against her with institutional power, and she's going to win anyway, that maybe she's doing something other Republicans should learn about. And so we have invited and we're grateful. Okay, she comes on later. But yeah, he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. She leads in every single poll there in Arizona. She has a huge lead. She's saying things that the people of Arizona can get behind. She is, making these commitments that what she's going to do as governor, and people are getting behind that. And Katie Hobbs continues to hide, running bathrooms, hiding from reporters, refusing to answer any question, only going to the very, very depressed that is very kind to her, like PBS, for example, which is a taxpayer-funded medium, but they will shell for Democrats every chance they get. This is the opponent that Kari Lake going up against Katie Hobbs, who refuses to debate her, refuses to get on the stage with her, because she is afraid of Kari Lake would destroy Katie Hobbs on the stage, and they know this. They know this, and they're trying to do their best to avoid bringing that up, and then Katie Hobbs continues to not have recused herself from the election process coming up this November. So many people have their eyes on what's happening in Arizona, and you should continue to keep your eyes on there too, because I do believe Kari Lake is going to win. But that's not to say that there's going to be some type of shenanigans going on in the background. But the people of Arizona are going to come out overwhelmingly for Kari Lake, that their methods are going to be overridden. And then, this is some big news, and that's Pennsylvania Senate candidate John Fetterman. He just got some really bad news. With 2.5 weeks to go, he has completely blown his lead over Dr. Oz, has just caught up with him. AWS has clearly surpassed him, and again we have to keep in mind Fetterman once had this supposedly this massive lead that like double digits was officially evaporated. There's a new Wake Insights poll that just dropped. It has Oz up by 4, he's beating Fetterman. 49-45 St. Paul is Mastriano. Just 2 points behind Shapiro. And we talked about this in yesterday's live stream Friday. Shapiro's consistently the recipient of pulling bias radical politics, as noted that Shapiro was supposed to win his last election by 15 points. He ended up winning only by 4. So these polls are overstating Shapiro's support in a comparable way. Mastriano is going to absolutely crush him. And by the way, just so you know, the same poll has to their Dixon taking the lead over Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan 48-47. But back to Oz and Fetterman. According to the latest Insider Advantage survey, Oz has surpassed Fetterman 46-45. Dick Morris was reporting yesterday on a McLaughlin poll that has AWS in the lead. And the icing on the cake here is that the recent projection coming from RCP Real Clear Politics aggregate that averages out all the polls. They're now projecting that AWS is gonna win Pennsylvania. So they're actually doing some heads here. They're projecting a 3-seat pickup for the GOP in the Senate 53-47. They're projecting the Republicans could just sweep all the seats in contention, Georgia, Arizona and Nevada, as well as hold Pennsylvania. And in yesterday's livestream, we talked about the new Barry's Emerson poll that found a 5-point advantage for the Republicans in the generic ballot nationally. Republicans are up 46-41 on the generic ballot, and we pointed out that 5-point advantage is insane. Precisely because back in 2020, the Republicans had a pickup of 14 seats in the House when the Democrats had a 3-point advantage on the generic ballot. So the GOP went into 2020 down 3 points. And they almost got control of Congress. There were just a handful of seats away. If they picked up 14 with a Democrat plus 3 electorate, can you imagine what they'll be able to do with a Republican plus 5 advantage? In fact, Barry's has been arguing that this swing to the GOP isn't done. We still got 2.5 weeks to go. So we could be seeing over the next several days a Republican plus 6 advantage or Republican plus 7 advantage. And lo and behold, guess what dropped today? An NBC News poll that shows that the Republicans now have an average 6-point lead in all the battleground states. So they're leading Ohio by 12 points. A J.D. Vance is gonna absolutely crush it. They're leading Florida by 10 points. To set this is absolutely humiliating Charlie Crist in Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, they have a 6-point advantage. And in Wisconsin, Nevada, of all places. Nevada that was going solid blue over the last several presidential elections, the GOP is now plus for Wisconsin will most likely have a full solid Republican majority as of this election, the governor and their state legislature. Wisconsin is ready to go full MAGA in 2024. And going back to Nevada, Rasmussen actually has the Republicans up 9 on their generic ballot. And the reason why this is happening is because of course the independents, like we talked about yesterday, independents, particularly independent women, are breaking and moving en masse towards the Republicans. And again, it bears repeating. It all comes down to presidential approval ratings being so crucial. We talked about the study yesterday by Henry Olsen, of the Ethics and Public Policy Center. It's a fascinating study that went back to all the various midterms going back 1940s, 1930s. And what he found was a fixed common factor in all of them in every single midterm. The results were directly related to the approval rating of the president, either for good or for bad. And so we appear to be seeing precisely this pattern playing out here. Right. So independents overwhelmingly disapprove of Biden, and they're breaking for the candidates that will put a stop to Biden. They don't care who those candidates are, what they believe or how much money they have, as long as they're going to push back against Biden, and that's all they want. That's all they need, and they're gonna vote for him. And you can see it. You can see it now. The winds are shifting by just looking at what the Democrats are doing. Fetterman is so desperate right now. He actually called in Joe Biden to help him, particularly in eastern Pennsylvania, which is far more blue than western Pennsylvania. Western PA is much more like the Republican plus 10 electorate in Ohio. But you probably saw that picture that went viral, Fetterman standing out there on the tarmac reading Biden, when he landed on Air Force One. He's just wearing that overground suit, tie, and he's got his tiny little head, and it's being reported that he didn't even say a word the whole time. Biden was there, the event they had together. He didn't say a word. It was just Biden and Fetterman. His wife was talking to the media. That's it. Fetterman himself didn't say a word for obvious reasons. The more he opens his mouth, the more his poll numbers implode. But it's all too little too late. Oz is surging. Mastriano is surging. Kari Lake is surging. Blake Masters is surging. J.D. Vance. Did you see the front page of the New York Times? Our New York Post, sorry. Its title is Red Wave, and it showed the poll that has Republican Elisa Lee Zeldin taking the lead over the radical leftist Kathy Hochul. In fact, their lead story is on how it's looking more and more to be turning out to be a red tsunami, forget the red wave. So there you go. Some good news for you to enjoy the weekend with, but of course, let's not be complacent. Let's get out there and vote, absolutely. But it really does look like we're seeing something utterly historical brewing right before our very eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, give me your thoughts below. And hit subscribe right now. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching the video.